Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Rachel Cruze Show. Okay, when it comes to money, we all have habits. You do things that you don't even really think through because it's just all you know. But examining those habits to know what habits are helping me when it comes to my money and helping me win, and what habits are costing me a lot of money because I don't even realize this is what I'm spending money on. So spending habits are huge, you guys, and you have to really look at what you're doing. And so I would really encourage you guys, especially those of you that are getting out of debt, getting your emergency fund in place, baby steps 1 through 3, that you change and you really buckle down on your spending habits, because the less you spend and the more money that goes to debt and an emergency fund, the faster you're going to get control of your money. Now, those of you on baby steps 4, 5, 6, and 7, you can be a little bit more, enjoy some more of your money because you've walked through and already set down this really firm financial foundation, which is awesome. But we all need to look at our spending habits. So let's walk through 5 spending habits that I see that are not so great, especially if you're on baby steps 1 through 3. Number 1, spending on convenience. This is a hard one because I know life is just go, go, go. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's just so convenient to get this order to the house or just go through the drive-through, because what happens is though, you end up paying for all this convenience. It is more money going out and less money going towards debt or towards your emergency fund. So there are delivery conveniences, like food and shopping, but you're gonna realize you get extra fees, you got a tip. Some services you have to pay a yearly subscription to the app possibly. So there's lots of extra fees there. The average American spends $67 a week on delivery and gets delivery 2.5 times per week. It is so easy. I know, like groceries, this is one thing for me that I started during the pandemic and one that I haven't quite stopped yet. But again, those of you on baby steps 4 and beyond, you can kind of loosen up the budget and maybe pay for some of the conveniences, but you pay for it. Like I look at mine and I'm like, yeah, it's convenient to have my groceries show up, but again, I'm paying a pretty great tip for that. I'm paying sometimes a delivery charge if the dollar amount isn't to the free delivery, and then I'm paying for my app. It's a lot. It's a lot. And again, if it's in your budget and you can do it, that's great. But those of you early on in the baby steps, cut it out. Another convenience is things like if you're going to a nice restaurant or hotel, valet parking versus self-parking. This is a tough one. Winston and I, we went on 2 trips this summer, and we did valet on one trip. We pulled up to the hotel and they were like, do you want valet? And we're like, yeah, it's great. It was just him and, just us. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then we go and get the bill at the end of the trip. And what they paid per night, we didn't even ask. So on us, I was like, oh my gosh. And we didn't even use the rental car. We basically stayed in the hotel area. And I was like, oh, we paid for 3 nights. And it was so silly. So then we went again with the girls the next month. We went to Florida and they were like, valet. And I was like, we are self-parking. We're gonna lug our suitcases up to the hotel. We're not paying for valet. No, it's so crazy. But again, it's convenience, but you pay for it. Yeah, So if you are, again, early on in those baby steps, cut out those apps. And if you need to find some extra margin in your budget, you can look at my 14-day money finder. There's a great way to get some extra cash there to throw at baby steps 1 through 3. And again, convenience is great, but the more sacrifices you make, the faster you can get that financial foundation built. Number 2, spending on impulse. Okay, we all know it, guys. We all know impulse buying. It's a thing. It's an absolute thing. And Americans spend over $2,100 a year on just kind of impulse buying, right? Whether it's food or clothes. Some people even impulse on buying a car. This is hard because you're not having a plan. You're just doing what feels good in the moment. And if you think about it, just take what you would normally just spend on impulse, and if you invested that $2,100 from age 35 to 65, it'd be $600,000 by the time you're 65. So you wanna stop doing the impulse buying, and I wrote a whole article on this, so you can just Google Stop Impulse Buys by Rachel Cruze to get more information on that. Number 3, spending without a plan. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. And again, this is for no matter what baby step you're on. You need to be living on a plan, which is a budget. And I know it kind of sounds like, oh, Rachel, but this is this is something that is so key. This is a bad spending habit that people have, is they don't have a plan. They're not being intentional with where their money goes. And so many people say once they start budgeting, they feel like they got a raise because they realized, wow, all this money was just leaving and I didn't even realize it. And again, it is hard work to budget, but it is so worth it. Now, having to use life insurance is not one of the things that we ever want to plan for, but you guys, having it will take so much stress off of you because you know your family will be taken care of if the worst happens to you. And that's why I recommend that you connect with my friends at Zander to get a quote for term life insurance. So Zander does all the shopping at all the top companies to get you the best rate and the best coverage based on your family's needs. So just make sure that you have a policy that is 10 to 12 times your annual income. And what ends up happening is it's very affordable. You're gonna see it and be like, wow, it's really not that much money, and it's gonna give you such peace of mind. So click the link in the description to get a rate that works for your family. All right, the number 4 bad spending habits that people have is not tracking expenses. So we just talked about budgeting, and budgeting gives you control of your money. You know exactly where every single dollar is going, but that really only works to the point that you know what every single dollar you have, where it is going, which means you have to track transactions. And you can do this old school by just keeping receipts. You can do this by looking at your bank statement online and saying, okay, this is where our money's going, and looking at your numbers. But the easiest way is every dollar. Every dollar makes it so simple, you guys. This app is amazing. And when I say that I look at it every day, I'm not kidding. I look at it every day. It is so nice because it does all the math for you, and those transactions that we're talking about, it connects to your bank account. So they come in and you can just drag and drop them. So it's like, okay, my Costco line item, Costco comes, so I just put it up there. Groceries here, clothes here, gas here, and you just sit there and do. And then it does the math and you're like, okay, I budgeted X amount for restaurants for the month. Then we look at the restaurant category, how much is left? Well, it tells you because it's right there. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Amazing. So it's really easy to use. Sometimes hard to stick with it because budgeting can be hard, like we just talked about. But I want you to try every dollar. It's for free. See for yourself because it makes tracking expenses so much easier. All right, number 5, last but not least, spending to feel better. Yep. This is a bad habit that I'm guilty of. Maybe some of you are guilty of. But it's a real thing, you know, and you have to realize that retail therapy is not self-care. It is not. But it is based on science that when you buy something, you have adrenaline, you have a dopamine hit, it feels good, it's kind of exciting. It's like, okay, yeah. I mean, all of it is so real. It is so real. So you have to watch that because you're gonna buy crap you don't need. That's what ends up happening. And I've now gotten in this rhythm that if I feel the need to buy something, I'm like, I haven't bought anything in a while. I'm just curious, you know, what this store has, and I'll go on my phone, and I'll start looking, and I'll see some cute stuff. I'm like, oh, I'll literally add it to the cart, and then I stop, and then I go do something else. And I'm like, okay, because I kind of got the adrenaline rush of adding it to the cart, but I didn't buy it because I really don't need it. And then, of course, about 2 days later, I get an email, and they're like, things are left in your cart. But by that time, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I don't need it. True story. That may help. You just need a little adrenaline rush, just add it to the cart, but don't go through at the checkout. It's great. It'll save you money, but you kind of get that kind of like, oh yeah, that felt good. But the key is don't check out because we're gonna break that bad spending habit. So these things, you guys, I know when it comes to lifestyle, it is so easy to not live with a budget and say, hey, I just want to live free and just do whatever I want. I want convenience. I want to buy it. I want to just impulse buy. You know, these things like feel good, and it's kind of this way of living. But then that takes you usually into debt without a plan, working hard, having nothing to show for it. It's not a good plan. It's not a good plan. So examine your money habits, buckle down and say, hey, I'm actually going to get control of my money. And it's amazing. Just tightening up some of this stuff, you're going to find so much money. Because my goal for you is to be debt-free, money saved in the bank, living on a plan, and enjoying your life, because I want you to take control of your money and create a life you love.